Professor Mala Pandurang, Principal of Anchal College, Dr. Lalitendu Naik. Sir and ma'am, we are very honored to have you here with us. Now let's begin with our first activity, which is the webinar on non-verbal communication. I would like to introduce the guest speaker for the day, Ms. Milina Pereira. Ms. Milina Pereira has been with Dr. B. College of Home Science for the last 13 years. She has done her MA, MPhil in English Literature from SMBT Women's University, Churchgate. She is in charge of Environment Sensitization Committee for the last 3 years. She has presented various papers at national and international levels. Recently, Ms. Milina ma'am was the team leader for BEQAT project. This project won second prize at the NCQM project competition, national level seminar organized by Bharat College, Badlapur. We welcome you, ma'am. It's an honor to have you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mahima. A very warm welcome to our guest principal from Odisha College, to my own dear principal, Professor Mala Pandurang, and to all the dear students. It's indeed a pleasure to be presenting. I thank Ms. Sharda and Mr. Nitin Pawar for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Mahima, once again for that wonderful introduction. Now, beginning with the webinar. The webinar is on non-verbal communication. And that's me, yes, Ms. Milina Pereira, faculty at Dr. BML College. Now, as we all know, there are two types of communication. One is a verbal communication and the other is non-verbal communication. Basically, under verbal communication, you have oral and written communication. Nitin sir, last slide. Under non-verbal communication, if you all know, we have postures, gestures, and expressions. Okay, next. Now, why do we need to study or understand non-verbal communication? Most people may not know this, but when we actually communicate, only 7% of our oral communication is heard by people. 93%, they're reading your non-verbal cues. Now, what are non-verbal cues? Obviously, non-verbal cues are things that do not come under your spoken words or your written words, but they come under your gestures, your postures, how you sit, how you talk, how you have an eye contact, how do you smile. All of these come under non-verbal communication. That accounts for 93%. So we all need to know that, yes, majorly our communication is non-verbal. Now, most people understand non-verbal communication as you see, I've shown the 4 pictures. The first is of a smiling lady. The other is of a sad face. Now, if you look at the eyebrows of the person, you'll find that the eyebrows and the chin and the eye tilt in not the normal way. The third is where the person is angry, and the fourth where the person is worried. Next. But to tell you the truth, non-verbal communication is not just about your face. It goes right from your head to toe. If I were to tell you that we communicate 93%, what I mean is, it's not just when you're there in your waking hours that you are communicating. Even your sleeping position is equally important. If you see the 3 pictures, the first image which is there of the man and the woman, they look confident. The second, with a slouch and a hunch, he seems someone who seems to be worried. The third image again of the woman, if you look at her spine, it's a little bent. The second and the third images are not what is expected, definitely not in today's times. Next. Okay, now, as it's already said, the eyes are the mirror of the soul. We all have a soul, right? And your eyes speak a lot. When I say eyes speak a lot, they tell things that your mind is thinking, but your words are not speaking. The first image is of a girl with a wide, teary-eyed look. Now, what do you mean by teary-eyed? Often when we meet a friend after a very long time, or you see someone whom you've always wanted to meet, and then you meet, your eyes will very naturally widen up, and it will become a little diluted. The second image, I'm very sure today's generation is very familiar with. when you do whatever, right? And you don't have to say it, and the other person knows that you have not accepted the point that they have said. The third is where the person is frowning and she's in an akimbo position. This is called arms akimbo. Now, what do you mean by arms akimbo? This is also a position which is held mostly by people who are confident, kind of arrogant, and yes, you see a lot of people holding today their arms on their waist. Next. Now, when we talk about, sorry, sir, just go last slide again. When we talk about eyes, they often say that we tend to hold more eye contact with people we like, or when we are listening to a topic where which is interesting for us, we will move our glance away if we do not like some topic. Like supposing, say, if you're not interested in a particular subject, you'll keep looking everywhere else. Or if you're confronted with a truth, the first thing that you do is you will not meet the person eye to eye. You will keep looking anywhere else but at the person, because you know the minute the person looks in your eyes, the truth will be out. So the eyes definitely reveal a lot about a person. A smile. Now, a smile and your eyes are both connected. How? If you're smiling genuinely when you're very happy, the muscles around your eyebrows, around your eyelids, will wrinkle a little. And if you're giving a fake smile, it's only your mouth which is going to give a smile, not your entire face. So when we say in Hindi, we often tend to say her, or in English, her smile reaches her eyes. What we mean is that the person smiles wholeheartedly. Next. Yeah. When a person is angry, the jawline of the person becomes, the person tends to hold the jawlines very, very firm. So you have to look out for these signs of people. Or people may flare up their nose when they are angry. They may not say it. I told you, remember? Oral communication is just 7%. Non-verbal is 93%. So the minute you see someone is either clenching their fist, or their jawlines are becoming very, very firm, or their nose is flaring up, it's time to leave the room. Next. Yeah. I told you about postures, gestures, and expressions. You may not believe it, but your brain is truly a mastermind. It actually controls your entire body. Now, if you look at the few slides at the top left of your screen, I've shown you various images where you find that the person is showing a very good image. Then for a down thumbs up is, okay, I've not liked it. The cross finger is hoping for things to happen. The V sign is for victory. Then when you show the pointed finger, most people do not show a pointed finger when you're arguing. The minute you're arguing and you show a pointed finger, that tends to infuriate people even more, because to them, it's like you're trying to dominate over them. The next is the handshake. Now, there are different kinds of handshake. We need to know this very, very well. The first handshake is the cup handshake. Now, what do you mean by the cup or the glove handshake? Here, the person, this you'll usually find among leaders. You'll find when political parties or when different countries are trying to make an agreement, you'll find that the one leader is holding the hand and then he again puts his other hand. This is not to be trusted with a political person, but yes, otherwise, then comes the next hand where you find that the person is trying to comfort the other person, right? The image with the black sleeves. The fourth image is of a person. Over here, it's not very visible. But when you wish, the other person's hand should not be facing the ceiling and yours to the ground. If your hand is facing the ground and the other person's hand is towards the ceiling, it means that the person whose hand is upward is the one who's trying to dominate you. So whenever you find a handshake ought to be like the last one, where you find that it has to be firm, it has to be straight, and at the same time, the grip has to be just for some seconds, not even for minutes. Holding it for a longer time will give a wrong impression. The middle one, very, very important, where you give a slight hand wish to someone and you take your hands off. This kind of a person is probably trying to hide something, so they don't wish you completely. They don't grip your hand well. They will just give you a slight touch and move their hand behind. The minute they do this, you ought to understand that probably your relationship with the person is not on the same level. Next. Yeah. Now the hands across the chest. This is definitely not a position you should be holding when you are talking to a person. The minute someone puts their hand across their chest, it means that the person is either holding his or her emotions to herself, or you may find even your teachers doing it. Now, why would teachers do it? The teachers usually do it because they don't want to get emotionally involved in whatever the student is saying. And this position is usually held when it's not such a comfortable position. The minute you're holding this, you're telling the other person, I've closed my soul to whatever you are talking, and I don't want to listen to you. One. Two, the other person, if you see this, sitting over there, again having his arms across his chest. If you're meeting someone and probably you're trying to talk to the person in a meeting, and the person is putting his hand across his chest, he's not being very acceptable. Please remember, your arms are the biggest giveaway of your uh, understanding of the non-verbal language. If you look at a child always has his or her arm in the air, like the fourth image that you see. So when you do a victory or when you win a game, what's the first thing that you do? You jump and your arms are up. Similarly, if you see the image on top where the arms are drooping, these are signs of an inconfident person. Next. Again, I would like to emphasize over here, whenever you go for an interview or a meeting, do not put your arms across your chest, because that will give a wrong signal to the person sitting opposite to you, in the sense probably the person is going to be your boss, and the minute you sit with your arms across your chest, you're telling the other person, I'm not going to be open to communication. Now we come here to again your arms. The first image that you see is called stippling arms. What is stippling arms? Where they hold the points of their fingers of both their hands, and they may knock it with each other. This position is usually held by people who are there in superiority position and when they're talking to their juniors. So next is the lint image. The lint is where you see the cloth image. This is a lint. Now, what is a lint? Supposing you're in a meeting and someone starts scratching a thread or a shirt or something of their sleeve and they're trying to pull it off. It's a sign that the person is disagreeing with your point and wants to get away from there. The next is where the child is holding the hand to the mouth. The hand to the mouth is you suddenly stop yourself from speaking something because you think you may sound stupid, or this is not the point that I wanted to. I thought it was something else. Next, rubbing. Now, what is the rubbing? The rubbing of the palms that usually you'll find in movies. People do, right? When they do it, what they're trying to do is they're telling you that they're expecting something positive to come from you. If you realize this when you're asking even your parents for some amount of money, for say to go to a picnic or something, you'll usually rub your palms. That is because you're expecting them to give a positive reply to whatever request you have done. Now, the last image is of a pacifying arm. Now, what is a pacifying arm? If you ask a person a question like, where were you yesterday? And the person suddenly starts either rubbing one's thigh or rubbing one's forearm or rubbing face, it means that the person is going to lie to you. The person is trying to pacify himself into saying a lie. Next. Yeah, your sitting position. Whenever you go for an interview, always take care of how you are sitting. Now, what do you mean by how you are sitting? Always occupy the chair completely. Do not sit at the edge of the chair. The minute you sit at the edge of the chair, your toe will not be facing the person who's taking your interview, but will be facing towards probably the door. So if your leg toe is facing towards the door and you're sitting on the edge of the chair, it means I want to run away right now. This also may happen with people when they're not comfortable with certain people and they may sit on the edge of the chair. Always sit comfortable, hold your arms up, do not hold it below the table. Because the minute you hold your arms below the table, people may think that you're being a conceited person. Also, do not rub your face constantly, do not touch your eyes, your nose frequently. If you want, you may keep your hand on the table and answer their questions, but do not sit in a slouch. Now, the third image where you see a boy and a girl, right? A man and a woman. If you see their position, they're leaning forward. Now, what do you mean by leaning forward? Every time there's an interesting topic, you will usually find that you tend to lean forward, even when you're sitting in a classroom, right? Or you put your you put your arms or your chin in your hand and you listen to them very, very carefully. Leaning forward is a sign of the other person is trying to understand you much better. Also, look at their legs. One leg is in front and the other leg is behind. This kind of a position, even in a job interview, tells your boss that you are someone who's willing to go for the job. Unlike a person who may hold their legs completely back and they may seem rigid. The preferable position would be keep your one leg in front and your one leg behind, but your toe facing your interviewer. The next position, the fourth image, where you again see a man and a woman. The man's face is towards the woman, but his body is positioned towards the other way. Again, his toe is not really towards the woman. It shows indifference towards a person who's facing him or her. Next. Yes. Last but not the least, always remember this: body language is very, very different from culture to culture, and it has also changed over a period of time. Like today, you'll very easily find boys and girls putting their arms around each other and walking, and they may just be friends. But there was a point in time when people thought if a boy has put his arm around a girl, so definitely she's something special for him. In today's times, it is not. In today's times, you'll find normal people doing it. Similarly, the thumbs up. In India, when you go for an exam, very naturally you show your friend a thumbs up and you tell them all the best, right? But you do this in Greece and people will take you to the jail. Now, this may come as a shock, yes, because this is an abusive signal in Greece. Again, the Eskimos welcome each other not with a hello, not by shaking hands, but they greet each other by rubbing their noses. Eye contact. Most Western countries expect you to have a direct eye to eye contact. In a country like India, if your teacher is scolding you, what do we naturally do? We normally tend to look down. And when you look down, your teacher will understand that you're feeling guilty. But if she's scolding and you're still staring at her in the eye, she may ask you, how dare you look at me in the eye? Correct? That's because in India, it's not an acceptable fact to look at someone eye to eye when they're scolding at you. Whereas if you go to America and you steal away your glances, people will take it as disrespect. So understand one thing, there are many body languages which have changed over the years. Similarly, in non-verbal, you also have something called as silence. I have not included that here, but I would like to speak about silence. Now, what do you mean by silence? Sometimes silence is a very, very strong means of communication. It's better to maintain silence rather than seeming like a fool if you do not know about something. Also, maintain silence wherever you are required to be silent. So, also with your dressing code. If you know that you're going to go for an interview, it's always best to check their websites to see what is the office culture of that place. Like in Mumbai, most offices probably we will have people who may wear a dungarees or people may wear a shorts and gown. But in most traditional places across India, you may not find that. You may find that people only need to wear maybe a sari or a salwar kameez. So don't show disrespect by doing it. Respect, like they often say, in Rome, behave like Romans. Next. Yeah, that's it for today. If anybody has any questions, you're most welcome to ask. I hope it's understood. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us your time, this valuable information. I myself was not aware of all of this. We are making this apply it and make sure I sit in a good manner. Uh, Also, girls and all the audience here, if you have any questions, you can please put up in the chat box, and ma'am will try to answer them.
Sure, sure.
I once again thank you, ma'am. Now we move forward.
Most welcome. Thank you so much.
Welcome, ma'am. Now we move forward to our next activity of the day, which is a recipe of Maharashtra made by Ms. Preeti Pohe, student of the Department of Human Development, and we will now have a look at it.
नमस्कार, मैं प्रीति भोयर आपका एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत में स्वागत करती हूँ। मैं आज आपको महाराष्ट्र के सबसे प्रसिद्ध रेसिपी बना के दिखाने वाली हूँ। पहले हम बनाएंगे सोलकढ़ी। सोलकढ़ी ये महाराष्ट्र में मुंबई, गोवा और कोंकण विभाग में सबसे ज़्यादा प्रसिद्ध है। सोलकढ़ी खाने के साथ, खाने के पहले और खाने के बाद भी लिया जाता है। सोलकढ़ी बनाने के लिए सामग्री इस प्रकार: ताज़ा नारियल, 2 हरी मिर्च, 2 से 3 लहसुन की कलियाँ, नमक स्वादानुसार, कोकम, पानी। कोकम को हमें आधा घंटा पानी में रखना है। ये देखो, मैंने आधा घंटा कोकम को पानी में रखा था, इसको अच्छा कलर आ गया है। अब हमें मिक्सर में नारियल डालना है, 2 हरी मिर्च, लहसुन और स्वादानुसार नमक और आधा ग्लास पानी। मैंने अभी इसका अच्छे से पेस्ट बना लिया है। हमें अभी इसमें से दूध निकालना है। मैंने अब पूरा दूध निकाल के लिया है। अब मैं इसमें कोकम डालूंगी। ये देखो, अच्छे से कलर आ गया है। हमारी सोलकढ़ी तैयार है। अच्छे स्वाद के लिए थोड़ा देर तक फ्रिज में रखिए। अब मैं आपको पोहे कैसे बनाते हैं ये दिखाऊंगी। पोहे संपूर्ण महाराष्ट्र में प्रसिद्ध है। ज्यादा करके लोग ये नाश्ते में खाते हैं। पोहे बनाने की सामग्री इस प्रकार: 1 बड़ा कटा हुआ प्याज, 2 कटी हुई हरी मिर्च, हरी धनिया, हल्दी पाउडर, स्वादानुसार नमक, आधी कटोरी मूंगफली के दाने, जीरा और राई, तेल और पोहे। पोहे हमें 2 प्रकार के मिलते हैं, पतला और जाड़ा। हमें पतला लेना है। पोहे को हमें पानी में धो के लेना है। मैंने पोहे पानी में धो लिया है और इसमें से पूरा पानी निचोड़ लिया है। हमें मूंगफली के दाने भूनकर लेने हैं। ये पूरा ऑप्शनल है, अगर आपको पसंद नहीं तो आप मत लीजिए। अब हमें इसे निकालना है। मैंने 2 बड़े चम्मच तेल लिया है। तेल गरम होने के बाद हमें राई और जीरा डालना है। राई और जीरा जब फूटने लगे तब हमें प्याज डालना है। और हमें प्याज को लाल होने तक इसको भूनना है। अब हमारा प्याज अच्छी तरह से पक गया है। हमें अब हरी मिर्च और मूंगफली के दाने डालने हैं। और इसको अच्छी तरह से भून लेना है। अब हमें स्वादानुसार नमक डालना है। अब हमें हल्दी डालनी है। हल्दी पक चुकी है। अब हमें पोहा डालना है। अब हमें हरी धनिया ऐड करनी है। पोहा खाने के लिए तैयार है।
I hope you all watched the recipe there. And now we come to the end of the program. I would like to express my gratitude and thank Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat Project under RUSA, that is Rashtriya Uchtar Shiksha Abhiyan, for giving us this platform to organize such events. I thank Dr. Lalitendu Nayak, the principal of Anchal College, Odisha, for accepting our invitation. Dr. Prasad Kumar Pradeep, RUSA coordinator of Anchal College, for coordinating, and Dr. Saroj Kumar Naik, EBSB coordinator. I thank our management members and their support and help. Special thank you to our principal, Ma'am, Professor Mala Pandurang, for her guidance. I also thank Mrs. Vidya Subramaniam, the RUSA coordinator of our college, staff members, and students of both the colleges. Mr. Nitin Pawar, sir, for handling the technical arrangements, and also the EBSB coordinator, coordinating with Anchal College. Mrs. Sharda Sirisila, our EBSB coordinator. Thank you, Ms. Preeti Pohe, for teaching us the cuisine of Maharashtra. We also thank Ms. Milina Pereira for giving us such awareness about things that we were not knowing about. We also look forward to more such programs between these two colleges and two different states of India. Jai Hind. Thank you.